Houston, we have a problem.
You are on the run, and I wouldn't say that it's been a hard time with you. Would you like to go with others? So just a second, and I'm there for you, baby. Now I'm all is for you.
Welcome live here from the broncolor studio. My name is Urs Recher. I'm the photographer here at Bron, and I would like to welcome to the future of strobe photography. I have the pleasure to introduce you to Stelos today, and later on with me will be Jan. He will give you some tech insights about the new compact unit, and Paul from Berlin will be with us, at least online. And he will talk about his experience shooting with Stelos in Guernsey in cooperation with Carl Taylor. And last but not least, at the end of the session, we will have Axel joining us for a Q&A session. So if ever you have any questions about the new compact unit, Stelos, please use the right side of the Demio software to type in your questions, and we are very happy to answer all these questions at the very end. Right, okay. Myself, I will try to guide you through the Stelos. We will have a look at the menu. We will have a look at some of the applications. And we start doing this by comparing the size. Right, okay. So here at the same distance, we have the Ceros 800L. Ceros might be a battery-operated compact unit that's more known to you. And let's say at the same distance, from the camera, so no cheating here. I just make a step aside. You see the size in comparison. We made it much more compact in size, in volume, and as well the weight is reduced. Let me put it on the stand. What you can see, first of all, is that Stelos has, again, on the side, a battery. So it's like the Ceros 800L. It's a battery-operated unit with 800 joules. And the battery is this time not integrated, but it's here on the side. And it's mounted with a universal V-mount adapter. I would like to switch cameras quickly to let you see this a little bit more carefully. All right. So you see this is the V-mount. So it's a universal mounting system to fix the battery on the unit. That's the other side. So it's a very simple slide in, click, and the battery is fixed. Thanks a lot. Let me connect this to the charger with a USB-C cable. So any USB-C cable will charge your battery. Obviously, there is a charger coming with it. Jan will talk about this unit a little bit more precisely later on. But if you did forget your charger, any USB-C charger, even from even the weak one from your cell phone, will charge your Stelos battery. Obviously, much slower. Nevertheless, you are never without power as long as you have a charger with USB-C out. So what is in the battery? In this small battery, there are more than 300 flashes in it, obviously at full power. And if we just take, let's say, the power 1 f-stop down, which is 50% of the light, half the power, we have the double amount of flashes already. So on 400 joules, we will already have more than 600 flashes per single charge. Using the original broncolor charger, which is very powerful, we can push in up to 100 watts. This means that after 8 seconds you are ready, or you have you gathered again the energy for one full power flash. So in any average normal studio use, your battery is always fully charged. You unplug it, you go out to location where you don't depend on any mains and you're always ready to shoot. Let's have a look at the front of the unit. So I switch it around. And what you see, first of all, is that the safety switch is no longer on top, like you know it from most other broncolor units, but the safety switch is on the side. But the functionality is still the very same. You turn your accessories until you come to a stop. You pull it back and you can take it away nicely and controlled. Now here I have to say that the original protecting glass and the protecting glass that we are already shipping in big quantities, the metallic frame here will be black. But here I have it, today I have it to show with the actually two bright protecting ring here. This aluminium ring here protects obviously the let's say more fragile glass, protecting glass, and it's mounted very securely by a small turning movement, which means the little mark here is on this side where we have the safety switch. You push it back on, give it a little bit of a rotation, and it's properly fixed. So no unwanted falling off. It's very, very nicely protected like that. Accessories, like you know it already, push it back on, click, and you're safe. That's how it looks from the front with the USB charger connected. And we are going back to this view. All right, I think we are ready to switch the unit on. This happens here with the on-off switch in the middle. I press it for maybe 1 or 2 seconds, and then we get this sign. Now, if this pressing on the button was unwanted, maybe during transportation, it switches off again. So there's no unwanted switching on, maybe during transportation or if you just touch it. But if you really want to start working, again, you go for this 2 seconds press, and then you just give it a quick rotation and you are ready to go. Okay, now max power is 11. I will talk about this a little bit more detailed later on. But here the 11 is a full power. This refers to 800 joules. And about the 800 joules or the max power, we have Paul from Berlin who has some comments about this. So let's hear what Paul has to say.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Paul, and I recently joined broncolor marketing and communications team. And today I'd like to share with you some impressions from our recent shoot in Guernsey with Carl Taylor, and of course with our newest light, the Stelos. So the first point I would like to highlight is the 800 joules of power. Now, some might ask, with today's advanced cameras, high resolutions and fast lenses with low aperture values, why we still need this much power? Well, in a studio you can sometimes work around it, but once you step outdoors, it's a different story. Under bright midday sun, nothing has changed. The sun is still as powerful as ever. That's why the Stelos, with its 800 joules of energy, really stands out. In one shoot by the rocks, Carl wanted to include the entire rock formation in the frame and challenged himself to light it with just one unit. He needed to lift deep shadows, keep the models evenly lit, and project light over a large distance. But thanks to the Stelos power combined with the precision of the broncolor power reflector, he was able to achieve stunning results. We used also an extended monopod to carry the unit around the rocks, quickly adjusting angles and highlighting different parts of the scene. Carl used a multi-layering technique, shooting different sections of the rocks and later combining them in post-production. This kind of economical approach was only possible because this light was compact, lightweight, and powerful enough. The second part of the shoot, the Stelos was pointed from the same direction as the sunlight. The models were standing in the water with blazing sunshine behind our shoulders. You can clearly see how powerful the Stelos is, working as the key light to highlight the scenery while also harmonizing beautifully with the sunlight as an accent to the models. Also, something to consider is that if you're using large modifiers such as the Para 222 with fast flash durations to capture the model in motion, you need a powerful unit to fill such a huge modifier. And the Stelos delivered just excellent results. All of this was done in one single day, 3 different shoots indoors and outdoors. We were only charging the battery while shooting in the studio, and we never ran out of power. So yeah, that's about power. And the second aspect I would like to highlight is mobility. The Stelos is surprisingly compact and weighs only about 3.3 kilos with the battery attached. So the V-mount battery itself clicks off in one simple motion, which makes packing for travel much easier. On location, the mobility really showed its value because we were like on flat surfaces to rocky ground, even into the water. It was easy to carry and reposition. So yeah, that's a point for me now, and we are heading back to Basel, where I'll be joining Urs again.
So, thank you very much, Paul. And talking about the power, I would like to continue a little bit. And we start here with this full power 11. And there I would like to quickly make a bridge as well to the other new product, which is Satos. Earlier, all broncolor units went to a max power of 10. Now, Stelos goes all the way up to 11. Satos goes up to 13. Why is this? Because we have extended power ranges. Okay, the Satos, for example, has 13 or 12 f-stops of power range. On the Stelos, we have 10 full f-stops of power range. That's really fantastic, which means from 10, if you go down 10 f-stops, we have a power of 0, and this sounds like switched off. Okay, so that's why we defined new. Now, 400 joules refers to power 10 with the Satos, the big one, and the small Satos, and the new Stelos. This is the case, which means if you choose a certain power on your Stelos and the same abstract number on your Satos, it is joule-wise exactly the same power. Right. Okay, this means that with 800 joules, we have one more f-stop than 400, so one more than 10, and that's the 11. So that's why. And let's start counting. From 11, I go down to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow. Okay. 10 f-stops of power range. And that's, in my eyes, mainly as a studio photographer, this is at least as important as the max power. 10 f-stops of power range means that I can shoot from the same unit with the same light shapers with 800 joules, and the next day or half an hour later, the same light setup, but with 0.75 joules, so less than 1 joule only. If we compare this, or if we translate this to camera settings, with power 1, I would have, let's say, aperture 1.4 on any fancy camera or a lens with a very, very open aperture. And then I can just change the power and close my aperture, and I would end up on power 11 with f45. So the entire span from 1.4 all the way up to 45. Honestly, I don't think that I have any lens that actually can do this, but we could actually really cover the entire super, super large power range with just one unit. And that's super, super important, that I can dominate the sun outside. I can compete against the sun, as we have seen it with the shooting with Carl Taylor in Guernsey. But in the studio, I can use my beautiful lenses, wide open aperture, and still use with the same light shapers and distances that I want. Okay, so the power range, this extreme power range is no limitation. I can absolutely freely choose the aperture I want. Okay, compared with Zeros, for those that still remember Zeros, we have two f-stops more of power range. Now, what does this mean? What are the creative possibilities for this? There, I just would like to show you a couple of photographs. Here, for example, this illustrates that, let's say, the same product sometimes requires a very open aperture, like on the left side, this flower is shot with wide open aperture, probably it's a 2.8 or a 4.0, and on the right side, the crispiness of the glass and the broken lines, I really want everything to appear very, very sharp and clear, so that's why I chose there aperture 16.5 to shoot the one on the right side. Here we have an exact straight comparison, same lighting, same object, but obviously with very, very different apertures, all open on the right side, very much closed on the left. And then last but not least, here I can click, okay, from the Stelos advertising campaign, I chose the product shot on the right side to be completely sharp. Obviously, I was using here f16 or something, maybe 11.5. To be honest, I was cheating a little bit because I needed some focus stacking as well. But on the left side, there is no cheating at all. It's really shooting with wide open aperture to have the focus on the V mount of the battery only. So this, I just want to close this quickly. This absolutely free choice of aperture is, of course, an absolute and very, very important feature of Stelos. Right. Okay, I would like to zoom in on the menu. So here we have the power indication, this abstract number, which is now on minimum power 1.0. The number in the middle, we will talk about it later. At this power, for example, this is the flash duration. We have now, at this power 1, we have flash duration of shorter than a 10,000th of a second. So actually shorter than most of the cameras on the market. Here I change the power. When I turn it slowly, it goes up and down with tenths of an f-stops, as you know it from all other broncolor units. Let's say if I'm on 3 and I would like to have an entire f-stop more, I give it a twist and I make full f-stop jumps from 8 to 9 to 10 to 11. All right. And you see that the flash duration always adjusts correspondingly. What else do I have? I have on the left side, I have the modeling light knob. I can press it short, turns the modeling light on or off, on and off. And if I press it long, I enter the menu. On top of the menu, we have here, like with Saltos, we have the focus frame. So I can move the focus frame around. And if I go here to the power, I can press and then I can adjust the power of my modeling light. It can be brighter, obviously all the way up to 100%, and I can go lower, 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 lower. And lower than 10%, it switches off. So 10%, that's the minimum, and after this, it's switched off. But you can see there's another functionality down here. Let's leave this on 50%. I go back to the focus frame. I move the focus frame further down. And now the display is so very bright that I have quickly to change the camera. All right, good. So here we can actually choose the color temperature of the modeling light. Again, I move the focus frame to this functionality, press the button, and then I can change the color of the modeling light to colder or warmer. You can see the change even a little bit in the background, even if we have a lot of other lights around in the studio. Right, okay, good. At the same time, what I would like to point out, because the camera is on dark, are these two lights here. These are the cognition lights. These cognition lights change the color according to the lamp address. So if you use the Bron Control app, You just use the same color on the app as the cognition lights have on the unit to change the power or any additional functionalities. Talking about cognition lights, I would like to go back with the sensitivity to a value where we can see a little bit more. So this cognition light up here is not broken. It's not broken because it's not even a cognition light. That's actually just the window where we hide the cell behind. Okay, so we actually only have these two cognition lights, and the third one that looks like a cognition light is hiding the cell. Right. Okay, so we covered these. Then we have here on the right side, we have the flash symbol. Obviously, if I press it short, it's just releasing a test flash. And if I press it long, I dive into the flash menu. Again, I take the focus frame, I take it down, and I can change here the flash duration and the color temperature at the same time. We have the two extreme values, which is HSS indicated here on the right lower corner, HSS. I will talk about this later on. And then we have all the different possibilities, the different combinations. Like always, flash duration on one side and color temperature on the other side, they are connected. Okay, you can change the color temperature and something happens to the flash, or you can change the flash duration and something happens to the color temperature. They are connected, and all, depending on the power, all the possible combinations are accessible in this menu. Very, very straightforward. So let's say we are on optimum. We are somewhere here on optimum. Let's say we have the perfect color. So the optimum refers to the best possible color at the 2200 of a second. If I go shorter with my flash duration, 2700 and so on, I get it. I will have a light that's more colder and colder. Now, what I tried to do here is I tried to program a colder flash, but as you can see, nothing changed, because at this very high power setting, if I go out, at this very high power setting, there is not much change I can do. If there's a lot of light being pushed out, we need a certain amount of time to actually push this light out. But if we start reducing the amount of light, we can play with the flash curve much better, which means in the first step, I reduce here the flash power, let's say just by, I don't know, 1.5 stops, power 6.5, still a lot of light, and we dive back into the menu. And now I can already choose here a 5800 of a second, and at this specific setting, this would be the shortest possible flash duration. If I go all the way up here, I can reach TO1 minimum. At this situation, the Stelos does not provide any constant color temperature, but it provides the shortest possible flash duration. And on the other extreme, we reach HSS, and that's ironically, it's high-speed synchronization, but that's ironically a very long flash because it's a short exposure time or short shutter speed, I have to say, on the camera. So where do we use this? And what's the difference between HS that we know from the zeros? Let me dive into the presentation again quickly here. All right, so this we have seen. And okay, so let's say we go out of the studio. I always mention that HS, that's an outdoor thing. Okay, it doesn't really make sense that we use HS or HSS inside the studio, because in the studio, you have seen we have the super short flash durations to freeze any movement. But if we go outside, if we shoot in the sun and we would like to use flashes additionally, we have, let's say, two different possibilities. Like in this situation, what you see here, I'll close the aperture to, I don't know, 11, maybe 16. And I had full power flashes in the set. Talking about the set, it looked pretty much like this one. So we had the sun from the right. We had the fluter from the left as the main light camera, in between the main light fluter and the fill-in, which was a para. And it looked actually quite okay. But then having a closer look at it, I saw this. So what's happening here? So the parts of the shot that were reached by the sunlight are still unsharp. Okay, why is this? Because when I use flash outside, I have to make sure that first I open the aperture completely, then I fire my flash, and then I close it again. If we work with a shorter sync speed, we run into problems with exposure. You might notice that the black bars at the lower end of your photograph. So as soon as we work with a shorter sync speed than the shortest possible sync speed that the camera allows, we are actually scanning our picture. It's a scan camera. And when we have a scan camera, this means that we need continuous light. All right. And that's why HSS is actually extending the flash curve to create a very, very long flash, and that we have kind of something like a continuous flash during the entire exposure process. Okay, if you look at the result of this photograph, all of a sudden it looks much sharper. Even the parts of the model that are reached by the sunlight, because now in this situation the sharpness comes from the short exposure time or the short shutter speed on the camera, even when the flash is very, very long. At the same time, the entire shot looks better because I can work with much more open aperture. Not everything is so razor sharp. So we can actually focus the focus and the light on the model where it happens, and we can keep all the rest slightly out of focus with a more limited depth of field. And exactly. In the studio, however, as I said before, it doesn't really make sense to use HSS inside the studio because we are destroying quite a lot of light. Okay, outside, when I use HS outside, the main motivation to do this outside is to work with open aperture. And if I have open aperture, I have enough light. But in the studio, yeah, this is not really what I'm looking for. So in the studio, we have much more light available at short flash durations. Okay, that's why working with short TO1 values, extreme would be TO1 minimum. That's for the studio. HSS is an outdoor thing. So if you do something like this, like the breaking glasses, it's more a question of short flash durations, not HS. And the same if you have something moving very fast, like this dance shot, this would be exactly the same thing in the studio, working with short flash durations. Right. Okay, I would like to quit here and go back to dive deeper into the Stelos and switching on the menu. For this, I change the camera and I press just the button here quickly. And I take, like always, the focus frame further down. Modeling light, that's exactly the same as we have seen here with the shortcut over the modeling light button. Right? Flash, this would be the menu round way to go, but I get here where I reached with the flash menu, where I reached here with the shortcut. So I can adjust my flashes. Let's go back here, not from HS. Let's go back here to TO1 optimum. Go back out of the menu again. Timing, that's the next thing. Timing, something very, very important in photography. We can adjust the delay. We can adjust the sequence, the interval, which is nothing else than the time between two flashes of a sequence. And of course, I can reset all the timings. What does this mean? What can I do this? What are the photographical applications of this? Here on the right side with the model jumping, we have an example of a delay, which means I first expose the continuous light in the studio, and at the very end, I flash. So it's in this situation, it's in the end nothing else than a rear shutter synchronization. But of course, you can choose the flash exposure at any moment during the shutter, while the shutter is actually open. On the left side, we have an example for a stroboscopic effect. That's in the end nothing else than a sequence with a very, very short interval. Now here I would like to add something more, and something that's actually really, really crazy. The interval so far always depended on the charging time. So let's say let's say just one f-stop below max power, you already had to wait, I don't know, half a second, quarter of a second, whatever, until the capacitors are charged again to release the next flash. Now, Stelos works differently. You have all the energy that is stored or that can be stored in the capacitors accessible at any time. Actually, the interval, the minimum interval of 0.008 seconds, so 8,000ths of a second, or less than 100th of a second, you can pull out the entire 800 joules. For example, one flash at 800 joules, capacitors are empty, straightforward. But if we just go one f-stop down in power, let's say we program it to power 10, 400 joules, the interval between the first two flashes is still 0.008 seconds, still less than 100th of a second. You can have two bursts of 400 joules. And like this, it goes on. You can have 4 of 200 joules and so on, 8 of 100 joules, actually with almost no interval in between, as fast as your camera allows it to synchronize. Or, of course, with a pre-programmed sequence of flashes. Right. Okay. Flipping the camera. Where have we been? So we went through modeling light, flash with the shortcuts. We had the timing, studio synchronization, quite straightforward. Radio can be switched on and off. We can give the lamp a studio address. The studio address is the same that you use on your trigger. The lamp address you use, or you give your lamps different addresses if you want to control them individually in your set. And the lamp address is the same, or is the number that changes the color of the cognition lights. If I do it now, I guess you won't, you can see it a little bit. So it's just too bright. That's why I took the camera darker before. So that's how the cognition light tells you which lamp you have to control on your broncontrol app. The cell can not only be switched on and off, it can have low sensitivity, it can have high sensitivity, or it can be completely switched off. Right. I go with the focus frame up again, navigate out, and we are here in more. I only want to go through this very, very quickly. In display, we can change the brightness, the orientation of the display. We can switch on the screensaver. We can display the flash duration. If you would like to have your display very, very clean, you can hide the flash duration. You can hide the RFS data. You can hide the information about the cell. So in the end, there's nothing else left than the power on your display. So this is just cleaning the display up. Display cognition lights. If you think they are too bright, they create some unwanted reflections. You can very easily switch these off. I leave them on now because I think they're fancy. Flash duration can be displayed in TO1. That's what I normally use because I think that's that's all the light. That's the relevant value. But if you want, you can change this to TO5 as well if you're more common or more used to use these numbers. I leave it on TO1. If the beep, the audio ready signal turns you crazy, you can switch it off. And of course, you can activate auto update, which means as soon as you're connected to your Wi-Fi, instantly Stelos, when it's switched on, it looks around if there are any updates available and instantly updates by itself. Very, very straightforward and super, super fast. Okay, down here, just technical things. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is on. It's actually connected now to my studio Wi-Fi. You can display additional available networks. You can get the list of all the known networks around. And further down, we have the languages. It talks 11 languages and info. If ever you have, let's say, a service issue, you might be asked to go here to the info and to have, let's say, the IP address, the MAC address, and so on, just the service-related information. Okay. Now, as promised, I would like to hand over to Jan with some more technical insights, please.
Thanks a lot, Urs. My name is Jan Kupetz. I'm the CTO at broncolor, and I would like to dive into a few innovations that we're bringing here in Stelos. Also, after my segment, there's going to be a Q&A. We already have quite a lot of questions, but yeah, post any more additional questions, we will then answer them just after this technical insight. So there are a few innovations that you brought to the unit, and it's quite obvious. If you compare it to Stelos L, the unit got significantly smaller, both in length and in diameter. And we could only achieve that by packing the electronics tighter in the entire system. We also upgraded to using the latest components that are, of course, smaller and more efficient, generating less heat. And that also enabled us to increase the packaging density in the unit. What I'm holding here is basically all the power electronics that are inside the unit. We have very high energy density already in our components, and we could even increase that further now for Stelos, so that we can pack the same 800 joules, but significantly smaller in size. But there's another very obvious thing that we did, and that is we have a new modeling light. So previously in Stelos L, we had a monochromatic single color temperature white LED modeling light. We updated that to the variable color temperature modeling light, as you've seen. And the modeling light also got significantly more powerful. It's now at 49 watts. Previously, it was something around 25. But to manage all of that, we, of course, had to develop a new heat sink that is making sure that the LED stays at normal operating temperatures, even when you're flashing, so that the LED has the performance that it should have. It's also worth noting, by the way, that not only did the power in watts increase of the LED, but the LED is also more efficient. So it's already outputting more light at 25 watts compared to the previous generation of products. And with the higher power in combination, it's even brighter than just the power, than just the pure power increase. And speaking about power, the entire powering of the device is also completely overhauled. We changed from a proprietary charger to USB-C because it's not only much more available, but also allows you to use state-of-the-art chargers, one that we're providing. So you're not gonna get stranded because you will find a charger basically anywhere. Use our charger. Our charger is a 140-watt charger, so you can use any USB-C charger, but I bet you don't have a 140-watt charger in your collection yet. It's based on gallium nitride technology. It's very compact. We're shipping it out of the box with power adapters that you can just slide on to adapt to your local sockets. They're all included, so there's no like country-dependent configuration. They're all included. You can take this thing with you on your trips. And it's a very, very small, very powerful charger, 140 watts. The charger has more than just one port. You can therefore also use it to charge, other devices. You can charge your phone, you can charge your laptop with that. But of course, when you're using it with the Stelos to get the best performance, to get the ability that you recharge the battery as fast as you can if you're using it continuously while charging, connect the charger directly to Stelos and to no other device. So yeah, you will never get stranded because you will always find the charger and use our charger that is included for optimum performance. Same goes for the battery. As we have said, we are using the V-mount as the mechanical interface and the electrical interface for our battery. Why did we do that? Well, the V-mount is a very reliable mechanical mechanism. It is very durable and it is very well proven in the industry, especially in the filming industry. And we also opted for the V-mount because having a V-mount battery or having the ability to attach V-mount batteries to our unit opens up the platform. Now, we get the question very often, can we use any V-mount battery with this unit? The V-mount ecosystem is a bit fragmented. There are 2 voltage regions where V-mount batteries are available. There's the 14-volt region and there's the 28-volt region. Stelos is a very power-hungry device, and that's because we wanted to give you fast recharge times. So during those fast recharge times, the battery is really hit hard with quite a big load. And also, of course, after the recharge, you're immediately ready to fire, and then it has to recharge again. So you can actually put quite some strain on a battery. That's why the 14-volt batteries, they just can't cut it. That's why the 14-volt batteries are not supported for flashing. In the 28-volt region, the batteries, there are some batteries that work with this unit. However, there are minimum requirements that are set from our side, and any battery that is compliant with those requirements can be used, can be tested, and can be used on the device. But make no mistake, the tiny battery that we're supplying is actually outperforming most batteries on the market, and that's what we need in order to have the performance that we are delivering to you. So the optimum results are achieved by using our own battery. At the same time, the system with the V-mount battery and with the USB-C charger is as open as possible to use third-party products, such as, for example, the chargers. And it allows you to use it in circumstances where our tools would be unavailable for, whatever reason. For example, you're traveling and the only thing is a laptop charger or like a car USB-C charger that you have at hand. So yes, that's the most important innovations that I wanted to talk about to you. And we can now switch to the Q&A session where I get support again from Urs and from our product manager, Axel Schmidt. And we already have quite a lot of interesting questions.
Yes, close the questions, yes. Is it the same flash tube like Cirrus L?
It is exactly the same flash tube as Cirrus L.
Okay, and charging batteries while they're in use, I know it from other units that is something you should not do are the batteries harmed when I constantly charge them, use them at the same time? Is there any conflict in this?
No, absolutely not. It's actually something that I like even recommend doing. It's definitely better than just like charge the battery and then discharge it and then charge it fully again. So if you're in a studio, connect it to your charger and you're all set. And by the way, you will not notice that you're dealing with a battery powered device, because in any normal, reasonable studio environment, the recharging that is happening while you're using it is sufficient to compensate for the energy that you need to take the shots.
All right. Maybe from Francis, maybe I can take this one. Can you see the color temperature numbers when adjusting the modeling light? No, you can't. It's somewhere around 3,000 to 7,000 Kelvin plus minus, but we are not displaying any values. It's just, let's say, colder and warmer, but with a very wide range, but no calibrated numbers.
Exactly, that's the reason, if I may step in. The color temperature here is a qualitative, let's say, indication. If we had put absolute numbers there, it would require calibration during production, and it would require additional technical complexity to make sure that even after it leaves our factory, it still stays in the calibrated specs. And we just thought that this is maybe an overkill for this product.
Okay. There's a question from Wim about the construction. I already mentioned that, let's say that the safety switch is on the side, it was on top, and the battery with zeros was on top. Now everything was on the side. Any specific reason for this?
Actually, we did get some user feedback. Mm-hmm. When the unit is mounted above head level, it is easier to activate the mechanism, because it's easier to grab, to see, and to touch, rather than like having like to grab overhead and then on top of something. Yeah. Same goes for the battery. There was also the question, why was the battery placed on the side? It's easier to unmount the battery and to remount the battery as soon as it's above your eye height. Mm-hmm. And also, heat is going upwards. So the unit, of course, is generating heat, and to make it more performant.
Okay. A question about power settings. Let me get into the frame. So there is who is asking this? Yeah, Venkat is asking this. If there is a charge, what power corresponds to to how many joules? I mean, there is no charge, but it's quite simple math. I mean, 11 would be 800. One F step down is a full number on the unit and just half the joules. So 811, 410. What's next? 209, and so on. So it's actually quite simple math. As well, I think there is no charge needed for the corresponding flash duration at the specific power. First of all, because now it's here, now because the unit indicates, it always tells you what's the flash duration, which is in the end nothing else than the exposure time of my photograph. So yes, it is a very, very important parameter, but there's no charge you have to consult, because the unit tells you as soon as you change the power, instantly it changes the flash duration as well. Additionally, on a given power, let's say power 7, you can actually modify the flash duration from very, very long, extreme value would be HSS, to tier 1 minimum, which provides you the shortest possible flash duration. So I think charge like this, you don't have to have these in your back pocket, because the unit, Stelos, always tells you exactly what's going on. Right. What's the recycle speed?
It depends. Between 0 to 2.4 seconds. Let me maybe elaborate on that. Flashes that are smaller than half the total power, so that are smaller than 400 joules, can be fired in very quick succession. we artificially limited the speed to 8 milliseconds. So after 8 milliseconds, you can fire the next one. As long as your flashes in total make up less than the 800 joules that this unit has, you can actually fire as many of them as you want in quick succession. For a full power recharge, that takes around 2.4 seconds. It's a bit less than 2.4. It's around somewhere there.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks, Jan. I think what's very interesting as well is this was the charging time, but the discharging time as well is something interesting. Let's say if I switch on the unit and it's on 11, and then I would like to go very, very low, let's say power 3, with all the units I had to wait until the discharge. That's no longer the case with Stelos. Within brackets as well with Satos, this is not the case. So when you go down with the power instantly, Stelos is ready to shoot at exactly the right power that you have chosen on the unit. Right. How many stops do you lose when you set it to speed mode?
You don't lose any. It's that speed. We define speed as a color temperature shift of plus 300 Kelvin. Plus 300 Kelvin is available for most power levels at the very top of the power range. It cannot enforce any more 300 Kelvin, but it still can make the flash faster. And at full power, speed is equal to optimum, because again, that's the maximum that is possible there.
Okay, thanks for that. Maybe the first question, Axel, would you like to take this for us?
Yeah, the
Will
question.
there be a travel case?
Yeah, will there be a travel case for carrying 1 or 2 Stelos units for air travel, for example? Yeah, and I confirm this. We are already working on such a product. Yeah, stay tuned.
Okay, wonderful. Marco, first, not a question, a really great product. Thanks, Marco, for this. Do all batteries with V-mount fit? I think you already talked about the batteries. Just some.
Yeah, maybe one last thing, because you mentioned the word fit. Our battery is also very compact. So what you can find V-mount batteries in the 28 volt range. You can also find batteries that have the 15 amps of rating. Most of the time, those batteries are they have like 200, 300, 400 watt hours. That might be exactly what you need, but then the battery also has to be compact in size. There are batteries that do fit, but yeah, it's a limitation of the battery. It's not a limitation of the product. We use a high power and compact battery, and whoever makes one of those, it's gonna work.
Okay, next question maybe as well for you, Jan. I just unplugged it now from the charger. Can I connect it to my laptop, work with the laptop, and charge the battery at the same time, as asked by Andrew?
Well, in theory it works, but it really doesn't make any sense. The energy that your laptop would provide to the unit is very, very small. But you can use a power bank, or you can use a charger. Like literally your laptop is going to provide less power than like a tiny cell phone charger. So you can do it. It's just makes no sense, but nothing's going to break. So that's also good.
Okay, that's good news. Yes. Filippo, I think the talk about batteries is really big thing here. Filippo asked if it's possible to use a V-mount adapter to connect batteries via a cable to Stelos.
Yes, you can do that. Of course, contact your local distributor to maybe do an experiment, to do a test. But yes, basically like a V-mount extension cable, so to say, that fits on the Stelos, and then you can connect like a larger battery to it that would maybe by itself not fit on Stelos, because it's like a 500 watt hour battery of this size weighing 3 kilograms. Yes, that's something that you can use. Yes.
Okay. Axel, maybe the next one is for you. I know that you made heavy testings on Stelos. And now the question from Alex is if there are other manufacturers that produce units they call industrial, for extremely heavy duty use. Is Stelos like a Stelos industrial?
Yes, we definitely built it from the ground up as a very heavy-duty industrial device. So don't worry about that. Maybe Jan can elaborate a little bit about
Yeah.
the long-time testing we did.
Yes. So the long-term testing that we do to these units, if you would like to do it by yourself, you're gonna have to buy 20 batteries, because you can discharge a battery if you're like firing at full power constantly in like 10 to 15 minutes. But then the battery is going to be so hot that it will take an hour to cool down. And in that time, you've already emptied 4 other batteries. And then the batteries need something like 1.5 hours to charge again. So that needs then other 9 batteries. And then after charging, the batteries have to cool down again. So you would need to have 20 batteries in constant rotation, 10 of them charging, the rest of them cooling down, and 1 on the unit, and fire all day long. Like literally, we did 24-hour tests on this, doing millions of flashes, and the unit just keeps on going. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jan just mentioned it. It's 90 minutes charging time approximately with our 140 watt USB charger.
Okay, maybe I take the next one again from Alex. A strange question. Yes, Alex, very strange question, because you want to use other units than broncolor together with Stelos. Recommendation, sell the other ones, go for Stelos, but maybe in a transition time, yes, you can, of course, use Stelos with other units. Regarding synchronization, your question number 1, you can use on either broncolor Stelos or on your other brands, you can use the cell. I guess they will not react both on the same radio trigger signal, would be a coincidence, but you can definitely use the cell. Regarding the color temperature, it's a little bit more tricky. I guess, I don't know what you have, but I guess that on your other units, you cannot adjust the color temperature, because only really high-end, super flash equipment can do this. But you can make Stelos flash in the same color like the other units. You might have seen it before when I was working at very high power setting. The range I could play with flash duration and color temperature was limited. So on full power 11, I have a given color temperature and I have a given flash duration. But as soon as we start reducing the power, we can play with the flash curve. We can have more blue light in a shorter time or more red light in a longer time. So you can definitely make your Stelos match your other strobes in the studio. I'm just going chronologically through the questions. That's the original cable. I think it's like 3 meters. Is there any limitation on the length of these charging cables?
So in theory, no. However, again, here use our cable. The reason is that USB-C cables come with different specifications and with different quality levels. There are cables that you, for example, need for lighting, for like connecting like 4 displays to a laptop. But those cables are maybe not ideal to transfer power. Then you've got cables that transfer power, but don't really meet their specifications. So also here, the best option is to use our cables. But again, it's USB-C, so it's also open to, to the entire ecosystem of USB-C. So I would say, yes, you can use third-party cables, but if you have our cable at hand, then use our cable. And if you experience problems with a third-party cable, then get our cable, and that should fix it.
Okay, wonderful. So we are slowly, the list of questions getting smaller at this moment. So maybe in a couple of minutes, we come to the end of this webinar. If you ever have any questions that are not answered, please just use the support at broncolor.swiss. We are very happy to answer your questions, and just stay online for another minute or 2, because you will be redirected to a questionnaire, and there you can actually take or put a mark if you would like to be contacted by a local dealer or distributor to know more about Stelos, and this person certainly could tell you all the remaining details. Axel from Christina, I guess this question is for you. How much does it weigh?
Yeah. Stelos without the battery weighs 2.8 kilos. The battery itself is 590 grams, and total weight 3.39 kilos.
Okay, from Raymond, another one about the battery. What happens if someone plugs in a 14-volt battery to the lamp?
Good point. So with a 14-volt battery, the only thing that's going to work is the modeling light up to 50%. So 14-volt batteries are weak. They're just too weak for this unit. But we wanted to give at least, let's say, some feature to it. So you can use it as a constant light. When you turn it on, you're going to be immediately redirected to the modeling light display. There you can set the color temperature and you can set the intensity up to 50%. If you try to do a flash, like either through RFS or through firing with the test button, it's going to tell you that you're using a 14-volt battery, which is not supported for flashing, but it still serves as a modeling light.
Okay, great. From Michael, is it possible to see the power settings on the new remote? Probably the new remote, you're referring to RFS 3. And no, there is no backwards communication on the power setting. You only can change the power plus or minus in full f-stop jumps or in tens of an f-stop jump. However, correct me if I'm wrong, Axel, it's already integrated in Bron control, and there you have the right number. Is this right?
Yeah, that is like that, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So if you really want to know that it's in 7.7, use the Bron control, and if it's just about making the lights brighter or darker, RFS 3 trigger on your camera will do the job. Finally, some physics. I guess this is for you, Jan. Which is the time duration of the battery when the modeling light is on?
Okay, so just the pure operation of the modeling light, it's going to give you a bit less than 2 hours of modeling light at full power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time,
you.
your interest in our products, and see you soon again.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.